Just another day on the job for the San Bernardino County Probation Department's sex offender unit. It's not very glamorous.
Doesn't look like our guy, but can't really see him. Oh no, that's not him.
They spend much of their time keeping track of convicted sex offenders, most of them listed on the Megan's Law website, many subject to strict new Jessica's Law regulations.
Jessica's Law requires that convicted sex offenders live at least 2,000 feet from a school or a park.
No matter where a convicted sex offender lives, even if it's way out here somewhere, his probation officer has to know exactly where to find him. If he says he's homeless, it's not always easy.
You say, okay, well, where do you park your vehicle? Where do you sleep at night? They'll say, oh, well, at the park. Then we say, which park bench? Can you be there at 10 o'clock? Then they may try to evade that and say, well, I'm at different parks all the time.
State officials say Jessica's Law has, in fact, made it much harder for sex offenders to find someplace to live. And because of that, the number of transient offenders has gone up considerably. Some probation officers say that's not necessarily true. They say many offenders claim to be homeless so they won't have to move. Officers spend hours and hours making sure the offenders are not living someplace that violates their probation, even if their only residence is a car or a box.
If they're living in a cardboard box, that's fine, but we need to know the location of the cardboard box. We have to know where they are every night. We need to know where they lay their head down, and if they don't adhere to that, they're going to go into custody.
But there are some disturbing loopholes. This man was convicted of molesting his step-granddaughter many times. He lives in his RV, which is usually right here inside a big urban park where families often picnic. You could even hear an ice cream truck in the background.
Everything's going good. I got my 50% from the VA now, so.
So this is pretty much where you park all the time, right?
Yeah, here, I don't go there.
You just use the restroom facilities right there.
At least one other known sex offender also lives in this park, but probation officers say the two men may not have to move. He's living right by kids. How is that okay?
That's something that we have to keep an eye on, which is why we periodically check on them out here. It's something we will look into.
Well, what can you do about it?
There's not much we can do. I mean, it's just everywhere there's going to be kids. I mean, any park you go to, there's going to be something. So we do the best we can, and we'll have them leave if it is a huge concern. How you doing?
This homeless sex offender spends much of his time at the San Bernardino Public Library, a place that's often filled with kids who sometimes run by unsupervised and close enough to touch.
How long have you been at the library today?
I've been here since about 10:30.
Any concerns about him hanging out outside his children's room at the library?
Yeah, there's a concern, but once again, it's one of those things that doesn't really apply towards Jessica's Law.
Still another offender is living nearby in his van parked on a busy street along the route of that ice cream truck. And the kids passing by, probation officers refer to them as the ant trail, walking, talking temptation for a child molester.
You can be 2,000 feet away from a school, but still, what we call the ant trail, the kids could still wander, half a mile in front of your house on the way to and from school. When he walks through the city streets and, goes by families or children or whatever, that's something that can't be prevented. That's something that the law doesn't even address.
Some people believe there are just too many ways to bypass Jessica's Law. Does Jessica's Law cover enough of these circumstances?
No, it doesn't, and that's one of the difficulties with dealing with Jessica's Law is it deals with where somebody is living, but it doesn't really deal with where somebody's parked during the day.
Even so, many are even more concerned about what sex offenders may wind up doing once they're off probation or parole and no one's checking up on them at all. Sheryl Kahn, KESQ News Channel 3, San Bernardino. This is the Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Center in 29 Palms. 932 square miles of sand and stone, haunting and desolate. And perfect for training Marines who are headed to Iraq. The base is remote enough to do things like this.
It's a very real situation. It's not a start the game over if you get shot kind of thing. It's taking care of ourselves, taking care of our own, and when they sign up to be a Marine, they're prepared to take risks.
The Marines use live rounds during training, so that means flak jackets and helmets for everyone.
Jones, helmet! You come with me!
The coaches, called Coyotes, are all Marines who've already served in Iraq. They're conducting a dress rehearsal for the performance of a lifetime with choreography that could keep their fellow Marines alive.
Find out what's wrong with that gun!
But it's not all about firefights. They're also learning what it's like to step into a completely different world. Many of these young Marines have never even been out of the country, but in a matter of weeks, they'll be landing in a war-torn nation where at any moment they could be shot at. Explosives could be detonated near them. They may be targeted by insurgents in any number of ways. It's likely to be terrifying, deadly for some, and for most, a huge culture shock. That's why they're getting an initiation of sorts at this simulated Iraqi village. They call it Wadi al-Sahara.
We try to replicate the environment as realistically as possible. We're constantly getting feedback from the theater to constantly improve the program, finding ways to make immerse the average Marine so that the first time he goes to Iraq isn't the first time he's got the experience.
That means traffic signs and graffiti are all in Arabic. So are license plates on older, well-worn vehicles because you don't see many brand new BMWs in Baghdad. And then there are the role players. They are mostly Iraqis who live in the U.S. now. They're flown in from all over the country to stay here in sparsely furnished trailers that stand in for typical Iraqi homes. They are paid for their work, but some, like 47-year-old Nidal Abbas, say they're not here for the money.
Most of the Marine here, it's young, when they went to Iraq, believe me, my heart go with them. And I pray to them because I lost 4 brothers, same age. Saddam Hussein, they kill them because they are Muslim Shia.
Abbas wants to help her country, and she feels she can do that by helping the Marines. She knows these Marines will be leaving for Iraq in a couple of months and don't have much time to learn before they go.
When I teach them strongly, I need them to know everything. I wish I have 3 mouths, 3 tongues, and everything speak in different kind,
For the young Marines,
The hardest thing for them to learn is simply to interact with that population, to get up close and personal and talk to them.
and it is the up-close and personal that's the hardest.
Personal space issues. Americans like their personal space, whereas the Arab culture are like to get a lot closer.
So Marines got to get used to that.
Well, some of them, they like to kiss them a lot in Iraq. They like to give them a hug, kiss, just like the passion of the guy.
And American Marines might not be used to that.
I understand, but they have to get used to it.
When he did that, what did you think?
Kind of freaked out, I mean, I'm from the South. It's normal to hug another guy because, that's what we do in the South, but the kind of kiss on the cheek is just, it's not something you do in America.
If I'm kiss someone, maybe he said, whoa, what's going on here? They think, so we have to just to teach them some stuff like that.
Teach a Marine that it's okay to kiss a guy, basically? Is that?
Not just the kiss, is everything, because if they go to Iraq, they don't know. If I'm seeing my friend, I'm shake his hand and kiss him. He said, what? All the Iraqi people, they gay or what? So I'm just...
But other scenarios are no laughing matter, like when Marines have to search suspects in the middle of a hostile crowd.
Take your headdress off now.
Or conduct house-to-house searches for insurgents without hurting or offending innocent people.
I don't have anything to say.
Nothing to say?
I have nothing to say. The way that you guys approach me.
Okay. Tell them that I apologize. And is there any way I could mend that?
Or man checkpoints where so many Marines and civilians have been killed.
No! We want air shot!
and react quickly to emergencies when fellow Marines could be dying right before their eyes.
Look around in your surroundings. You want to treat this guy for shock.
The coyote who's teaching these Marines is only 24 years old, but he's already been to Iraq and back and seen much worse than this, because this, though shockingly realistic, is only a drill.
Stop breathing. He's going unconscious. What do you want to do? Start the breathing, right? Okay, let's start the breathing. How are you going to do that? Two-hand blood scan. Use your hands, okay? You're going to go around his whole body. Okay, you go around his whole body. You find bright red blood right here. He got shot in the back of the leg and he's bleeding out his artery. You got to know how to put on these dressings. Get with your doctor, because you're going to go to Iraq, okay? And someone's going to die. It happens. Units don't come back with no casualties, okay? You're gonna go to Iraq, and one of your buddies is gonna die, and you wanna be able to eat chow at the end of the night and say, hey, I did all I could do to take care of my friend, and you know, he died, okay? You don't wanna be sitting there for the rest of your life thinking, oh, well, I wish I know how to put on that dressing, okay? They go through something called combat paralysis, okay? And it happens a lot in Iraq, and we're teaching these guys before it happens.
It definitely is a shocker. You don't expect to see something like that.
One day it might be real.
Exactly.
And how do you feel about that?
If it happens, I'm gonna hopefully rely on my knowledge and do the best that I can to help that individual stay alive.
And that, they say, is what this is all about.
They're gonna go, and maybe they'll come back, maybe not. I mean, God bless them. We hope them to come back.
Sheryl Kahn, KESQ News Channel 3, 29 Palms.